What's going on, everybody? Got a super exciting one for you today. We're going to be installing this 12 volt Everchill refrigerator from RecPro into our fifth wheel. Hey guys, just an FYI, this video is going to be pretty long. So rather than doing it in 3 separate videos, I decided to do one, but 3 separate sections. So the first section of the video, we're going to be talking about pros and cons of 12 volt refrigerators. In the second section, I'm going to be showing you all our install of this Everchill refrigerator. The third section, I'm going to give you a quick walkthrough of the fridge, just so y'all can see it, see what it's like, see if it's something you'd want to buy. Alright, I hope this video excites you all as much as it does me, but today we're going to be talking about our Everchill 12 volt refrigerator that we got from RecPro. This install is going to be a little bit different for everyone, so just know that going into it. I'm not going to go through all the ins and outs of installing. I'm not going to walk you through step by step exactly how to do it. Just know that your install is probably going to be a little bit different than mine, just because we all have different RVs. Before I get into the install, let's talk about why you would want a 12 volt fridge when you have a perfectly good absorption propane electric fridge sitting in your RV right now. The truth is, you might not need to replace your current fridge. If you only camp once or twice a year, you're always in campgrounds with electricity, honestly, upgrading to a 12 volt fridge might not be for you. However, if you're like us and you're in your RV a lot, you full-time, you boondock, you have solar, there's a lot of benefits that a 12 volt fridge brings. Here are my 5 advantages or reasons why I think you should get a 12 volt fridge. They cool way quicker than a propane electric absorption fridge. When using an absorption fridge, you really need to turn on your fridge at least 8 hours before your trip. Honestly, I found myself turning ours on the day before, just to make sure it was up to temperature, so when we transferred items from our home refrigerator into our camping refrigerator, or from the grocery store into the fridge, they didn't automatically heat up. With a 12 volt fridge, you're looking at cooling times up to 5 times faster. And honestly, it might even be less than that. I'm talking an hour or 2, and you're good to go. Number 2, no more defrosting. Have you all ever opened up your absorption fridge and seen an iceberg in the back that could sink the Titanic?
Who left the fridge open?
I have as well. You don't have to bust out the hairdryer, you don't have to have water leaking all over your floor, into your fridge, you don't have to bust out the cooler to put your cold items while you're defrosting. It's amazing. It's just like a home refrigerator, no defrosting necessary. Number 3, so much more space.
And here's the thing, it'll give us so much extra space in our room to do activities.
Because the compressor is so much smaller on a 12 volt fridge, you don't have all that mumbo jumbo ammonia lines and heating coils, and honestly I'm not familiar with the inner workings of an absorption fridge. However, I do know that there's a lot of stuff on the back. And with a 12 volt fridge, you don't have that. Your compressor is located in a small little compartment in the bottom of your fridge, which leaves you so much more room for items in your fridge. It means less grocery trips, better organization. You don't have to stuff everything on top of each other. It's awesome. There's a lot more room. Number 4, ventilation. 12 volt refrigerators don't require external ventilation like an absorption fridge does. That typically means you have 2 big old holes on the side of your RV, or maybe one on your roof, depending on where your fridge is located. With a 12 volt fridge, you can plug those up. That means better insulation in your rig. That means no more critters with pointy butts trying to sting you every time you open the door. It also means less of a chance for water to get in your rig when you're washing it, or when you have a really crazy rainfall where the rain's coming in sideways. It happens. All around, less holes in the side and top of your rig, the better. Last but not least, number 5, which also happens to be my favorite. Efficiency. 12 volt fridges are ridiculously efficient when it comes to electricity. For example, the fridge we've got uses about 80 watts of power when it's cooling, versus our absorption fridge uses 420. So when you're running off of batteries and solar, that's 7.5 times more efficient with a bigger space. It's a no-brainer for me. So this efficiency is awesome. But you know what makes it even better for someone with a solar system? It's 12 volt. It's not 120. That means you don't have to have your inverter running to run the fridge. It runs directly off the batteries. Even if you don't have a solar system, it'll run off of your house batteries. So what does that mean? What does it mean running 12 volt versus 120, not using the inverter? Well, I'll give you an example. We have a 3,000 watt inverter. If I'm using 420 watts for my fridge, that's about 1/6 of the power coming from my inverter, which means I have less power to go to other things like potentially air conditioning or wall outlets or the microwave. That means these items can't all be used in tandem if they're all sucking power from that inverter. I'll give you a practical real-world example here. So prior to getting this 12-volt fridge, if we were boondocking and we were running the AC, as well as, of course, the fridge, and we wanted to microwave something, we would have to either turn off our AC or turn off our fridge to do that. Now, we don't run into that issue because the fridge isn't sucking power from the inverter. It's coming right from the batteries, and it's in a much smaller amount. There are also some drawbacks as well, and I don't want to mislead anyone. So I'm going to give you my 3 disadvantages to buying a 12-volt fridge. Disadvantage number 1. They are expensive. Now, we got just about the biggest 12-volt fridge that you can buy. But if you buy one, they're still about $2,000. That is not cheap, especially if you have a perfectly good fridge. However, if you want to save a little bit of money, use our discount code TODAYWEGO at RecPro, and that'll save you 5%. It doesn't even have to be used on a fridge. You can use it on whatever you want. Disadvantage number 2. They make more noise than an absorption fridge. Listen here. Hear that? That's what it sounds like when it's on. Now, it might sound a little bit louder on video, and it's not really all that bad, but you do notice it. Just think of it similar to your fridge at home. It makes about the same type of noise, although it's a little bit quieter. Disadvantage number 3. You can't run your fridge on propane. Now, while this might seem obvious, it's a reality. If you don't have solar or you don't have a big enough battery bank and you're used to running your fridge on propane when you're boondocking, you might want to look into either upgrading your battery bank or adding a solar panel or 2. Just know that once your absorption fridge goes away, so does the availability of using your fridge on propane. This last bit isn't really a disadvantage, it's more of an FYI, but you may need to run additional wiring to support the fridge that you've got. Our old fridge only had 14 gauge wires run to it because all it powered was a little electric board and some lights, whereas these wires are going to power your entire fridge. So just know that you may, depending on your system, need to run some new wires. Although, running 12 volt is not bad at all, I promise. So what do you say we get this thing installed? We're going to go ahead and cut our fridge off. It's also a good idea to pull the fuse for the fridge. All right, so we're outside. We're going to grab our step ladder, which is over there, not our real ladder. Sorry, I had to. We're going to go ahead and get everything undone from the bottom little refrigerator ventilation area and the top. Ooh, that's dirty. That's gross. So I'm really sorry I had to succumb you all to my dad jokes just then. But I like dad jokes. So if you guys like them, let me know and I will put them in more videos. Let's get this undone. Hopefully no wasps fly out because I'll scream. All right, looking pretty clean. I don't think that there's gonna be too much I have to do up here. Let's open up the vent where all the business happens. Again, hopefully no little critters come flying out at me. All right, I think we're all clear. What we need to do down here is we need to disconnect our gas line, disconnect our AC power, and also, I assume this is our DC power. I'm gonna need 2 hands to do this because I don't wanna damage our propane line. But just know that you need to put a wrench right here, and then something, a wrench or a pair of pliers, something to hold this section right here so you're not damaging anything. But you'll take this and you'll twist it off to disconnect your LP line. Now that we went ahead and got that disconnected, you're gonna wanna cap this off. I bought the wrong size cap, so we're gonna have to make another run to Home Depot. All right, now that I've got the right fitting, I'm gonna cap off the old propane line. And again, you wanna take 2 wrenches and turn them the opposite direction to make sure it's nice and tight. Insulation, yummy. Gross. All right, so I'm like pretty certain that this is our DC power. So I'm gonna go ahead. Actually, now I'm like super certain it's our DC power because it totally says it right there. And as you can see on this wiring, it says it's 14 gauge, which means it will work. All right, so now what we're going to do is remove all these little screws that are covered up right now. In case you needed even more of a reason to get rid of one of these 2-way fridges, the defrost is just annoying. And you can tell it's starting to damage the trim here. Good news is we're going to be pulling that out. All right, so I went ahead and removed the bottom trim piece as well as all the screws. And I'm about to do the same on the top. All right, so now let's remove the fridge. I think. Yeah. It's probably best to team lift this fridge. All right, so for those that know me in real life know that I cannot do something the easy way. And if someone tells me to do something one way, I'll do it the other way just because I have to figure it out the hard way on my own. What I can tell you, there's no way I would ever remove that refrigerator again by myself. That was a bit of a bear. Thankfully, we are going to be replacing this whole area down here, or rather removing this whole area down here. So that little drawer slide is no longer important. However, if it was, I would have just destroyed it. So we got the wooden plate that the previous fridge was sitting on out. Now I'm going to remove the drawer slides. I'm going to remove this. I'm going to remove these 2 little trim pieces here. And we'll see if we fit. Looks like we got everything out of the way. I'm gonna wheel the new fridge over and put it into place and see what we're dealing with. First problem we're encountering is the distance between my island and my little electrical box thing is too small for the fridge to fit in. Just to give y'all an idea of what's going on right now, the island used to be right here. And I'm having to battle with these pipes and water connections. So I'm having to turn the island on a swivel counterclockwise to be able to make enough room for the fridge to get through. And now it would appear that I have enough room, except for maybe this little piece jutting out, but that's easy, just a couple screws. All right, well, it looks like we're gonna fit. I might have to do a little bit of trim work to clean it up, but the fridge fits. Hey, so you guys remember way back when I told you 14 gauge was an appropriate wire gauge for wiring this refrigerator? And as you can see on this wiring, it says it's 14 gauge, which means it will work. Which means it will work. It will work. Well, I lied. I read the manual again, and 14 gauge is only appropriate if you're running the wiring like 3 feet. Mine's like 10 feet. So I opted for 10 gauge wiring, which meant I had to run all new wiring, which isn't too bad because it's only 2 wires, but as you can see, this is in a slide. So had to get creative and run some wiring underneath, and I'm putting it in wire loom and whatnot. Probably not applicable to your camper. However, just know that 14 gauge probably isn't appropriate for this fridge. So for the old wiring, I just wrapped it up, put a couple wire nuts on the ends, and we're gonna tuck it away in the back here. For the new wiring, we've got our positive, our ground, and then a third wire we've had to add, which is going to be the chassis ground. So it's actually grounding the refrigerator, not the electronics in the refrigerator, but the metal in the refrigerator to the chassis. Now that we have these 3 wired up on this end and wired up at the other end, I wired the positive back into the same refrigerator fuse as the previous wiring was wired into. However, instead of a 15 amp fuse, I'm going to be using a 20 amp fuse. In order to help keep out any pests and to insulate it some, I cut out a piece of wood and taped it up over the gap where the old fridge vented. So to fill the gaps around this fridge, I actually found these PVC trim pieces at Home Depot that match really well. I mean, they're slightly off, but not enough to tell unless you're really looking. All right, so we're fully installed, we're wired up, we've got our gas plugged, we've got our trim installed, and now for the most exciting part. Let's remove the plastic wrap. Last but not least, did you guys hear that? What's that, Mr. Fridge? He wants a friend. Wonder what he could be talking about. All right, so some quick little features about this fridge. One that Reagan really likes, it's magnetic. Our other fridge was not. So she can store pictures as well as little chip clips and whatnot up here. The handles to open the refrigerator door are actually under here. You can use the top. There's a little section here that you can use to grip, but it's much easier to open the door from down here. It's French doors, so you've got both doors that open independently of each other. You can access one side or the other if you'd like. These are actually some bars that we threw in there. You've got 6 little storage cubbies. I don't know what the proper name is for them on the sides here. You've got your temperature control up at the top for your fridge as well as your freezer and your on and off button. You've got an LED light up there that makes a nice cool blue looking light. I say cool blue, it's not blue, it's a white light, but as far as color temperature goes, it's more blue than it is yellow. You've got humidity control on both of these crispers. It is a 16 cubic foot fridge, where our other one, our absorption fridge, I believe was either 11 or 12. So for the freezer, the handle's on the top here, on the top of the drawer. And it opens up, you've got your bottom compartment. It's pretty deep, you can fit like 6 boxes of corn dogs in there, which is how we like to measure our freezer space, because our son loves corn dogs. And then you've got this drawer up top for other items. Maybe another 4 boxes of corn dogs in there if you wanted. It also has LED lighting. So hopefully y'all liked that quick little tour of the Everchill 16 cubic foot refrigerator from RecPro. Honestly, guys, it's awesome. I highly recommend it. If you've got enough room for this fridge, I highly recommend it. If not, I totally recommend 12-volt fridges. All right, before we sign off for today, I'm going to leave you all with our discount code one more time for RecPro. All you got to do is enter in Today We Go, and it'll save you 5% off your order. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and if you did, please subscribe, hit that like button, leave us a comment. We love the interaction, so if y'all are thinking something different than what we think, let us know, let others know. We want this channel to be something that helps everyone. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you next time.